Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Hello, Chop Squad. This episode, we're chopping it up with none other than James Bond. Well, not from the movies, but he is a star in his industry. James I. Bond is one of America's leading behavioral management and business marketing specialists. And he's the author of the multi-award-winning book, Brain Glue. Can't wait to hear more about that. How to sell easier by making your ideas sticky. I love it. For 13 years, he ran one of Southern California's leading behavioral management firms, working with a who's who of American business. Early in his career, he ran an advertising agency in Montreal, working with a wide range of Fortune 500 and smaller firms. He is a past workshop chairman and sold out workshop leader for the resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. He has been a featured guest speaker at 3 Southern California universities and has been a popular guest on a wide range of marketing and business podcasts. And James, I feel honored that you are here today on the Business Shop. Welcome.
Oh, I feel honored being here, Audrey. You're the tech diva. How awesome. Chop. Do we need chopsticks to do this?
I know.
It's awesome. That's brain glue, by the way. Chop. Chop.
Oh, okay. I'm in there. I didn't even know it. All right.
There you go.
Okay. I look forward to learning more from you today through our interview. Oh, wow. Okay. Where do we start? Okay. So if we just want to, let's start from the book, brain glue. What does that mean, having sticky ideas?
So brain glue helps you make your ideas sticky, so they stick to your prospect's brain like glue, making it easier to get them to remember, but also to get them to say yes to your product or idea. And so brain glue is really powerful. And I didn't always, I started with it. I live in Southern California now, but I started in Montreal. And I had an advertising agency, and I worked my way up and finally got major clients, Kraft Foods, Timex, watches, Abbott, Avon, Abbott Laboratories, Seagram's, their world headquarters is there.
Okay.
And so, with logic, okay? I mean, I had beautiful pictures and all that stuff, and they loved us. Mm-hmm. So I had the opportunity to do the anti-drug campaign in America. And we came up with like fantastic logical reasons why you should not do drugs. and then we lost, okay? And for good reason. What did we lose to? As I start describing it, you'll probably know it instantly. Guy holding an egg and says, "This is your brain."
Yes.
Cracks the shell, drops the egg into a sizzling frying pan. This is your brain on drugs. Yes. Any questions?
Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah, that was powerful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a gazillion times more powerful than logic because it was emotional selling. And I loved it, and it terrified me at the same time because I'm in advertising and marketing and life, and I don't understand emotional selling. And this was emotional selling. This was it was definitely, it didn't have your brain, it had an egg, but it was, your fried brain.
Yeah.
Your brain fries on drugs, so you might as well show an egg frying,
Yes.
But I was terrified. Mm-hmm. And so I had sleepless nights. Mm-hmm. But eventually the scientist in me said, I wonder if I could learn emotional selling. They don't teach it in school, so I'm not going to get it there. And I did some library work, but it's just superficial. They don't really teach emotional selling. So I decided I would get this box, and I'll call it a passion box.
Okay. And
every time I see something that's emotional, an ad that's really emotional, or somebody that says something really emotional, like President John F. Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." That's called chiasmus. I didn't know that. It's actually a formula, and you can follow the formula. Malcolm X. I love Malcolm X. Malcolm X, the civil rights activist.
Yes.
He loves chiasmus. And I'll tell you how chiasmus works in a second. But he said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock landed on us.
Yes.
And it's profound. And
yes.
It's more powerful than if he just says, "Hey, you have no idea how hard it is being Black in America," or growing up with, and all that stuff. That, okay, we hear it a lot. We know that.
Yes.
For him to say, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock, the rock landed on us, it resonates. It clicks in the brain, and we go like, whoa. He also said, when you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah, yes.
And it's so right and so true. But if somebody said, hey, look, you got to stand for something. Okay, we'll say, yeah. But if he says, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, that resonates. It sticks to the brain. You'll remember it years, decades later.
I never thought of that. Never thought about it.
So I'll give you some examples of brain. So what happened was I started putting things in my passion box. In fact, my wife hated going to doctor's offices with me because I'd be looking at a magazine. I go, oh, wow. And she goes, do not tear it out of the magazine. No, I have to. I need it in my passion box. This is amazing. She would sit as far away from me as possible.
I don't know that man.
Exactly. Do not know him. But eventually we moved to California, and I met John Gray. And John Gray wrote this incredible book, one of the best relationship books ever. And it was called Men, Women, and Relationships. But he was frustrated because it sold a few thousand copies. But, if you make like $1 a book or whatever, you have to get another job.
Right.
And so he was frustrated. But at one of the seminars he was doing to try to promote the book, he said something, and all the women laughed hysterically. And the men looked at the women and went, what's so funny? And so somebody says, isn't it funny how women can laugh at something that men don't understand, and sometimes men laugh at something that women don't understand? And one of the women in the audience said, it's almost like men are from a different planet. And he laughed and he said, yeah, it's like men are from Mars. And everybody laughed.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And so when he got home, he said, okay, everybody laughed at that. That was interesting. If men are from Mars, where are women from? Well, women must be from Venus, because Venus is the god of love. And he got this crazy idea. My book's not selling a lot anyway. Why don't I change the title? I wonder what would happen if I change the title to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'll do references to it throughout the books. But it's the same book, but I'll just put references to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus throughout the book. What do you think happened? Overnight, truckloads of people started buying his book. He sold 500,000, then 1 million, then 2 million, then 5 million. In my book, I said he sold 10 million books. Well, I worked with this guy, Steve Harrison, who helped John Gray become famous. And he said, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, oh, did I get the number wrong? He said, yeah, we've already sold more than 50 million books. He went from a few thousand to 50 million books just because he changed the title. It's like, wow. And it blew my mind. So when I got home, I was going to put the book in the passion box. And I said, no, wait a second. This is too important. So I put it on my bed. This is after about 10 years of putting stuff inside the box. And I dumped the box on my bed.
Yeah.
And I started dividing things up. And I realized there were 14 different areas. Like his was a metaphor. Okay. I mean, men are not really from a different planet. At least I don't think we are. Okay. We might be, but that's a whole other story. Okay. That's right. But I realized, look, there's other things like Shark Tank. Shark Tank is not a tank full of sharks. I mean, it might feel like it when you're on the show, but it's not a tank full of sharks. It's, it's investors. So if they call it the Investors Club, do you think it would be as successful as Shark Tank?
No, because we'll be trying to look at investments. Well, no, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, exactly. But Shark Tank is like, whoa, what? It triggers different parts of the brain. I remember I was watching the Discovery Channel, and they were talking about Rocky Road ice cream. And Rocky Road ice cream was started during the Great Depression. And it turned Dreyer's, back then, Dreyer's ice cream. Well, all ice creams were 3. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. That was it. Yeah. So they came up with the idea of taking chocolate ice cream, putting nuts and marshmallows in it. And so they thought, wow, like this is really cool. They actually stole the name from somebody else, but they said, it's bumpy like a rocky road. Why don't we call it Rocky Road ice cream? Let's see what happens. So Rocky Road ice cream became a monster of success for 3 reasons. First is it uses a metaphor or analogy, Rocky Road. It's not really, you don't open it and get rocks. Let's start there, okay?
Yep.
The second thing it uses is alliteration, the repetition of sounds, Rocky Road. And I started doing research and realized, look at how many major products and phrases use alliteration. Coca-Cola, PayPal, Best Buy, Lululemon. I mean,
wow.
There are just so many of these things that you never even think of that use alliteration. Yeah. I'm a baby boomer, terrible twos, trick or treat. Cool as a cucumber. How cool is a cucumber? I mean, I want
Right,
to know.
exactly.
Dead as a doornail. Ooh, how dead is a doornail? But alliteration works and it triggers in the brain. Okay. And they have like a mom and her son. Mom was sitting in the bathroom and she said, I need to put my feet up on a slight stool because it changes the shape of the body and it makes it easier to go to the bathroom. I don't want to get too much into that.
Yeah. I know.
But they came up with this little toilet stool and they said, well, we need to come up with a really cool name. So toilet. We don't want to say toilet stool. I mean, that doesn't sound very good. Yeah. So what else is another name for toilet school? A toilet. Potty. So it's a potty. And so what are we doing? We're squatting. So squatty potty. Let's call it a squatty potty.
That's cute. Yeah.
Squatty potty went from 0 to over $100 million in sales in less than 2 years by two people who had no business experience, all because they came up with the name. Okay, squatty potty, alliteration. It's a repetition of sound. Mm-hmm. So then the third thing that Rocky Road ice cream used was humor. It was started during the Great Depression. So during the Great Depression, the nickname for the Great Depression was Rocky Road. We're all on a rocky road. So their concept was, we're all on a rocky road anyway, we might as well have Rocky Road ice cream. And people would kind of laugh as they went like, ooh, okay, that sounds pretty good. Let me taste it. Ooh, this tastes good,
Okay, give you a good feeling in the midst of all that turmoil.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it sticks to the brain and you remember it. And what they found is there are these two scientists. There's Gerald Zaltman, who is at Harvard Business School. And then there's this guy named Daniel Kahneman. And Daniel Kahneman is a Nobel Prize winning psychologist. And they discovered that more than 90% of decisions happen when you trigger the emotional side of the brain. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can still have some logic and throw logic at, in marketing, we say, you want people to know, like, and trust you. Okay. I got that. And that's emotion, because if they like you and they trust you, that's emotion. But if you're just counting on that, especially if you're doing marketing, you often don't have the opportunity to do that unless you're famous, Right. But what we do is we use brain glue tools. And when you use brain glue tools, it triggers the brain in such a way that tons of people start buying your product like crazy. I have this friend, Robin Thompson, and I've been coaching her for quite a while. She's lots of fun. Mm-hmm. And she's in Detroit. She's on Detroit television on ABC TV on the East Coast, where she's the finance person, the personal finance coach. And so I'm helping her with this program that she's building. And so we came up with this phrase, remember, money isn't funny, which kind of makes you laugh, okay? It makes you laugh, makes us all laugh, even though it's serious. And by doing that, by her constantly saying, and remember, money isn't funny, it gets people laughing, which triggers the emotion side of the brain while they're checking out what the product is. And so, it's phrases like I just saw Twitter has a new slogan, the thumb is mightier than the sword, which I thought was interesting, Wow. And it's phrases like that. So, we have things like Head and Shoulders shampoo, right? Yeah. So where did they get their name from? Did they just invent it out of thin air, or did they steal it from the children's rhyme, head and shoulders, knees and toes, eyes, ears, mouth and nose? Okay. They knew that it was already stuck in everybody's brain. So why don't we call it Head and Shoulders? Mm-hmm. What a fabulous name. And it became massively successful. Yes. And so, it's just brain glue it's so amazing. Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, he was telling me, I'm a left brain person. First, he said, your book is mind blowing. And now he sold 500 million books, okay? He sold 100 million Chicken Soup for the Soul and 400 million other books in the series. Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, Chicken Soup for the Cancer Survivor Soul, and everything else. So he's rich and successful. He doesn't need me telling him anything. He said, I was really pissed. And I said, what? When I was looking at your book, I'm like, I'm sorry. He said, no, I couldn't put the damn thing down. It's like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. Can I use that as a quote?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, exactly. Apologizing. Whatever. Can I get it as a quote? I actually have it on tape too, so which is really good. He was recorded, but he said no. So this is us logical people have a problem. We always fall back onto logic. So the original title of my book was "Sell More with a Right Brain Marketing Strategy," which is, by the way, left brain. So he said, you're torturing us. I'm going to torture you. Okay. I'll allow you to do the quotes, but you got to change the name. The whole book is about brain glue. sell more with the right brain marketing strategy. I couldn't even remember that if I wanted to tell someone about it.
Right. Yep. Yes.
Tough name. Come on, you got to change the name. You can use my testimonial if you change the title. And of course, on Amazon, they don't let you change the title, so you got to republish a book, and you lose all the testimonials and stuff.
Oh,
And I said, "Oh, do I have to?" He said, "Yes." Okay, I'm not going to say no to Jack Canfield.
Is right, for real. Oh my goodness.
But we fall into logic. We try to sell things when we're selling somebody. We want it to be logical without realizing that most people are motivated. Not most people, virtually everybody is motivated by emotion. That's what I call it, motivated, motivated.
Yeah.
And so if you throw too many numbers or too many facts at somebody, I mean, obviously logic to logic and tech to tech, will do that. But if you throw too much logic at people, it turns off the emotion side of the brain, which is where decisions are made. So yeah, it's really, it's been fascinating, and I didn't invent brain glue. Let me say this, okay? I invented the term brain glue, but brain glue's been around forever. I didn't teach Malcolm X brain glue. He knew it. He knew how to use, how to use chiasmus. And I'll tell you how chiasmus
you talk about the chiasmus. So is that so then purposely, Malcolm X and President Kennedy, they knew what they were doing when they were using these types of phrases or what?
Absolutely. And that's why Malcolm X and President Kennedy used it often. So let me tell you how chiasmus works, okay? Winners never quit and quitters never win.
Yeah. When
the going gets tough, the tough get going. See, and you remember it sticks to the brain. Okay. I heard this one: eat to live, don't live to eat, which is my torture because I live to eat. But anyway, it's a whole other story. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mae West was awesome. She was in the early days of the motion picture industry, and she was fabulous. She was just amazing. And so she loved chiasmus. She said, "It's better to be looked over than overlooked." Okay. It's kind of interesting. I'm a good-looking woman, so it's better to be looked over than overlooked. He said, "Women like a man with a past, but they prefer a man with a present." It's funny because women tend to get that. Oh, I want to. The guy better show up with a present. I had this guy that said, "Well, how about the future?" I said, "No, she's talking about a present." And he goes, "Oh, a present. I get it. They prefer a man with a present." She said, "Women, when women go wrong, men go right after them." And she said, "Good girls go to heaven, bad girls go everywhere." It was funny. But just, when you learn, so In-N-Out Burger, it's an opposite. It's opposite. Okay. Icy Hot, okay, is, products use it sometimes, which is really good. So I'm old, so this can relate to me. Okay. It's I'd rather wake up and pee than pee and wake up. Okay. But it works for humor. Comedians use it all the time. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah.
I'm not a drinker, but I like it.
But it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So this mom says to me, so I get tortured, we always get tortured. I'm sure you get tortured too. You're a tech person. Eh? How about this? So this woman says to me, so you got to help, brain glue, you got to help me with my 14-year-old son. I'm like, okay. What? She says, my 14-year-old son said, "Mommy, why do we have to follow so many rules in life?" She says, "How do I answer that?" So I'm like, okay, let's use some brain glue tools. Let's start with the rhyme. So why do we have to follow so many rules in life? Rules. So what rhymes with rules? Fools. Okay, only fools don't follow rules. Okay, there's a rhyme. Yeah. But let me make it stronger and use an analogy or a metaphor also. So I came up with this analogy or metaphor, and it was really strong. And so I sat down with him and his mom, and I said, "So you were asking your mom, why do you have to follow so many rules in life, right?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, when you're thirsty, you could drink out of the toilet, but why would you want to? Remember, only fools don't follow rules." And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, that makes sense." First of all, getting a 14-year-old to ever say anything makes sense is a miracle. Okay,
especially from an adult.
Exactly. So I escaped quickly before he asked me another question. But does it make sense, or did I just trigger parts of the brain that made it feel like it made sense?
Yeah, I just put it all together.
So let me give you a couple of examples. Here are political examples, okay? Mm-hmm. You can't hug a child with nuclear arms.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So now I'm taking it. It's called anchoring. You're anchoring two things together. You can't hug a child. Well, that's emotional with nuclear arms. Well, that's a whole other emotion. By
Yeah.
anchoring the two of them together, you can't hug a child with nuclear arms.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, like that's interesting, and it
Yeah.
sticks. Even though
Right. Your brain starts twisting.
Exactly.
Rather.
So here's another one. Okay, no, I'm not against or for
Mm-hmm.
the right to bear arms. I just want everybody to know I'm not getting political on this. Okay, but
Yeah.
from a brain glue standpoint, this is powerful. And this comedian said the right to bear arms is almost as crazy as the right to arm bears. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, you start thinking, right.
Yeah, exactly. It gets you to go, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's nuts, but it resonates with the brain. And so when we recognize that, things that stick to the brain, if you can get stuff to stick to the brain, you can make it, you could be a lot more successful, a lot more effective. First, you could sell more, tons of products and services, but also it resonates with the brain. So if you're saying something that you think is really important, it'll stick to the brain. And so, just looking at these tools are really fabulous. So let me give you two core tools that these are brain glue is based on. Okay.
Okay.
The first one is called redintegration, not reintegration, but redintegration, which is the brain's need for completion. Okay. It's like why we watch crappy TV shows or movies to the end. I went into the living room and my wife is watching a TV show. I said, "Hey, Pam, is this any good?" "No, it's stupid." "So why are you watching it?" "Well, I want to see how it turns out." "Okay, got it."
Thank you.
So
no one said it's worth it at the end.
yeah, exactly. Maybe, you never know. So it's the brain's need for completion. When we hear something and we know how it's going to end or we know how it's going to turn out, then we're used to that. Okay. So I'll give you a tool that we all know. So what's the most powerful tool of human interaction? I'm using it now, aren't I? Can you tell what I'm doing? I'm using questions, aren't I?
Yes.
When we hear a question, we automatically want to answer it. Okay. It's just wired into us. And so that's really powerful. In fact, I had this friend, very religious, and he said, "What do I say to an atheist?" And we came up with this question: do you hope you're wrong? Do you hope life has no purpose? You're a freak of nature, and when you die, you turn to dust, and that's it? Or do you hope there actually was something before this? Life has a purpose, and when you die, you move to the next level. And so he said, it's interesting because I usually say, "Well, how can you not believe in God?" and blah, blah, blah. I said, come on, you're pushing him away instead of
exactly
engaging him. And so we need to learn more how to engage people. When we engage people with powerful questions, it could really help. By the way, then the other part of this, so we like symmetry because of redintegration. My wife would see some guy who has a lazy eye, be on TV like this, and it drives my wife nuts. She says, "I can cover one side of his face. He looks like a person. Cover the other side. He looks like a totally different person. It's driving me nuts looking at this guy." Okay, so that's symmetry. We like symmetry, okay, and balance. But it also means that asymmetry gets our attention. Something is off balance. And let me give you a story about Marilyn Monroe that a lot of people don't know. Okay. I was like, whoa, I didn't know this. So Marilyn Monroe, her name was Norma Jean originally. And her manager, I think it was her manager that said Marilyn is a better name. And her stepdad, I think it was her stepdad, was named Monroe. So she came up with the name Marilyn Monroe, which is alliteration, Marilyn Monroe. Okay. That was good.
Wow.
Then she loved Jean Harlow, who was a famous actress back in the early days. And Jean Harlow was a platinum blonde. So what she did was she said, "I want to be just like Jean Harlow." So she went to the same hairdresser that dyes Jean Harlow's hair to dye her hair the same color. So it's platinum blonde. Okay, so she's Marilyn Monroe, platinum blonde. But she had a beauty mark on her face and she would cover it up with makeup. But one day she's looking at photographs of Jean Harlow and she goes, "Wait a second. Some photographs she has a beauty mark on her face and sometimes it's on her chin." And then she says, "I bet she doesn't even have a beauty mark. I bet she's putting a dot on her face to bring attention to herself." And then what she does is she takes eyeliner and instead of covering it up, she darkens a beauty mark on her face. And she believed that a lot of why she became famous is because of that beauty mark on her face.
In fact, I can see it now in my head. I can see it.
Well, Cindy Crawford became a supermodel, and Cindy Crawford has a big birthmark over her one side of her lip. And when she was a kid, when she was a young girl, she would beg her mommy, "Please, mommy, take me to the doctor so we could remove this." Now she says, "I am so glad my mom did not remove it because I believe this beauty mark helped me become a supermodel, and stand out from everybody else." what made me think of it was there's a famous advertiser named David Ogilvy from the early days of advertising. And he was doing an ad for Hathaway shirts, and Hathaway became a blockbuster of success in a large part because of him.
Okay.
And so if you're doing an ad, like a print ad in a magazine for a shirt, what would you do? You'd have a good looking guy wearing the shirt and a nice pair of pants, maybe with a nice background, right? Well, he figured that's just like every other ad. So why don't I put an eye patch on the guy? Put an eye patch on the guy. And by the way, it wasn't just one guy. He had multiple models and they all had an eye patch. What a coincidence. He called it the Hathaway, this is the Hathaway man or something like that. Okay. And people would, and you'd read the text like, why has he got an eye patch on? It would never explain it. But because he had the eye patch on, it grabbed attention and it helped the company become massively successful. And just by the way, alliteration also works with phrases. And it works this way. If you know what people are expecting and give them a twist ending, it grabs their attention. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, congratulations. Okay? A lot of people think fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. Congratulations is like, what? And it gets your attention. And so that's what we want is because we're so bombarded. We're overwhelmed with, I don't have my phone here, but in our phones, we're on our phone all the time. We're getting texts and people are wearing T-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're so over bombarded with information that information is flying at us every day. And so what we want, especially if we have a message that's important or a product that we want to sell, the first thing we want to do is grab attention. We want to connect to the brains that are going, wait, what was that? What did he just say? What did men are from Mars, women are from Venus? I mean, I remember I was in a bookstore and I'm looking at different books and I go, men are from Mars, women are from Venus? What's that? And I picked it up. That's the first step to buying a book is picking it up. So if you can get a ton of people picking up the book going, what the heck is this? And reading, this looks interesting. Suddenly people are going to buy your product or your website. And just by the way, I remember this lady, a stay-at-home mom, and she said, so she wanted to, she got on Facebook and she wanted a lot of people to connect with her, especially moms. Okay. And so she was thinking of what would I come up with? I have to come up with a cool name. And she didn't spend any money on advertising. Okay. She said, I want to come up with a cool name. Okay. Mommy needs time to herself. Mommy needs rest. I know what mommy needs. Mommy needs vodka. So she came up with the page, Mommy Needs Vodka. She has, guess how many people? 5 million people are fans of hers. That's 5 million.
And they probably don't all drink.
No, I'm sure.
Just like
most of them don't. But it's just, I remember I was looking at a post and it was funny. And I went like, oh, that's really funny. From Mommy Needs Vodka? What's that? Clicked on that, went to her page, saw some of the things. I said, okay, I got to be a fan. Clicked on it. Yeah. It's because when it resonates, and that's one of the things that's great about Brain Glue is you don't have to spend, if you spend money on advertising, everybody has to spend, whatever else. You don't have to spend more. A ton of people spend nothing, and you don't have to spend any more or anything, and you can just become massively successful. And like In-N-Out Burger, especially on the West Coast, In-N-Out Burger has lines of people every day, even though they're competing with McDonald's, and McDonald's spends like hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising. And In-N-Out spends almost nothing. In-N-Out is also, it used to be a description of sex, by the way. And people went, In-N-Out, that's the name of a burger place? What? An In-N-Out Burger? What? Of course, it's In-N-Out because it's all takeout. But it's like In-N-Out, I don't know if that's, I wonder what that's like,
Right. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. But you're going to have to go back and rethink everything.
I know it's terrorizing people. Okay, well, I got tortured because I had to change the title of my book. So welcome to the club, everyone.
Okay, exactly. Because I have one client. Every time she has an anniversary, I'm tasked with coming up with the slogan. She says, "You always come up with good stuff." Blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I'm looking at my stuff now, and I'm like, I need to hide from James I. Bond because I don't even see the names of my stuff. And I have a book that I'm working on. I may have to relook at that title.
Well, it is amazing. It is amazing how much things change. John Gray went from a few thousand to 50 million books sold. Jack Canfield was telling me his book. He wrote a book called 100. It was 101 motivating stories. That will change your life. He said, but I don't want to call it 101 motivating stories that'll change your life because I don't know. It just feels like they've seen that before. It
Yeah.
feels like something else. It's accurate, but it feels like something else.
Right,
And so he
right.
was struggling. He said for a few weeks, I was struggling to come up with a name. And one day I just woke up. It was like, I think Heavenly Father talks to us in our sleep sometimes.
That's
He
it.
woke up and he said, chicken soup makes you feel good. Chicken soup makes you feel better no matter how sick you are. So my book makes you feel better no matter how sick you are too. So I should call my book Chicken Soup for the Spirit. That's really good because it affects the spirit. But he said it was tortured for a few days. And he said, chicken soup for the spirit doesn't sound right. He didn't realize he was using alliteration, a brain glue tool. He said, SOUP, SOUL, soup, soul. Chicken soup for the soul sounds better. And that's how he came up with the name Chicken Soup for the Soul. And the rest, as they say, is history. People started looking at Chicken Soup for the Soul. What's that? And they started looking at it and go, interesting. And then they would get it. And it affected them emotionally. I mean, you're affected. Chicken Soup for the Soul. How does that title not affect you emotionally?
Exactly.
I mean, it just, you feel like, wow, chicken soup for the soul. I mean, it triggers different parts of your brain. Chicken soup for the soul, it's words. Okay, so we're getting words on the left side of our brain and on the logic side of the brain. Chicken soup for the soul. Well, this isn't chicken soup. I'm not buying chicken soup. I'm buying a book. Chicken soup. Okay, it must make me feel better for the soul. Wow, that feels good.
Yeah.
Let me go through this. Whoa, look at these stories. And suddenly you have it. And it's just, the more we can realize that, I mean, business chop. Okay. It's like, what? Business chop? What am I going to chop my business? Yeah, chop suey. This is like, you better bring your chopsticks because we're going to talk about business chop. Oh, you got their attention. Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Interesting.
Do I need to change the show name? But
no, but yeah, you're
I will in a second.
Okay.
No problem.
But it's good. I mean, and there's another thing, and it's, and we have to remember this. Okay, I am frustrated because Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock don't do comedy at colleges anymore. Why? Because somebody's going to get offended. Oh, give me a break.
I know.
Give me a break. Laughter is the best medicine. It is. It actually triggers oxytocin. It makes your body start, recovering and fighting off bad things. I mean, it's just, we need to be laughing again. Yeah, we need to bring laughter back into our lives because people who are laughing live longer. And by the way, if you have to die laughing, what better way is there to die? I mean, if you have to die, my wife has these two things. Okay, we have this famous quote from somebody, and underneath it, she puts this. These two words on a big post-it. Wait, what? And I said, what is that from? She said, I was watching this TV show and somebody asked, what do you want your last words to be before you die? And she said, wait, what? And so she wrote that down. That's what I want my last words to be. Wait, what?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I had one guest on. You talk about the healing of laughter. Kathy Nesbitt. Look up her LinkedIn or Google her. She was that's a good one. Yeah, bringing that laughter back.
You gotta laugh. I mean, life is. I saw this guy with a T-shirt and it said, "Life sucks and then you die," and I'm like, no, that's terrible. This is not a practice. This is life. We have to be happy. I mean, we're going to have had sad things happen to us, and we have to have empathy for people if bad things happen to them. But don't laugh at a funeral. I guess you might, but it depends if you die. If Mary Tyler Moore had a clown show and the clown died and she was laughing at the funeral. So I guess sometimes it could work, but in general, no. But you have to have empathy for people for sure. I mean, but we have to be laughing. We have to, this is life. And otherwise we're giving you that T-shirt. Okay. Life sucks and then you die and you have to wear it.
Right. I don't want
life does not suck. You have to choose. And I know it can be depressing for some people sometimes, but just watch, start reading jokes and telling jokes. I was doing a turnaround of this martial arts equipment company. And when you do a turnaround, it's like they're in trouble. They're almost going bankrupt. And so everybody's afraid for their job and they're stressed. So I told them a joke because I like telling jokes. I'm very bad at jokes, by the way. Let me start there. I have this joke. So let me tell you two jokes, okay? First one is, little girl comes up to her mommy and says, Mommy, you said we came from Adam and Eve, but Daddy said we came from apes. And so she says, honey, Daddy's talking about his family. I'm talking about my family. Love that one. Okay. So that's one. But I'm doing the turnaround of this a martial arts equipment company, and everybody's really stressed. And so I told them a joke, and they tortured me with this joke because I kept repeating the punchline over and over again to me for over a year. Okay. I said, so the maintenance man is hiding in the maintenance closet. And when people come close to the closet, he opens the door and screams, supplies, not surprise, supplies. I'm the supply and maintenance guy. Okay. So they laugh. But I would be walking around the company and I'd look at somebody's, they had a glass window in the office, and I'd look inside and I'd see stress. Their face was all stressed. And I don't know if they didn't have product, or an unhappy customer or something. And they were really stressed. So I'd open the door just to try to cheer them up. And I'd say, hey, how's it going? And when people saw me, a big smile would go on their face and they go, supplies. Every time they saw me, I was the supplies guy. I didn't have supplies, but they would always go, supplies. But you could see the body language change. Wow. So, people are more creative. You can solve problems easier when you're happier than when you're stressed. The more stress you have, the more it's like blocks on top of you. How do you get creative when you're scared? And I know you're scared anyway, but start looking at jokes and, just try to talk yourself out of it or think yourself out of it. And with these people, we turned around the company. They did fantastic. But they also, every time they see me, I think if they bumped into me on the street or saw me in a car, they'd open up the window and go, supplies. They tortured me with that one. So be careful of the jokes you say. You may get tortured by them.
Well, at least that was a good word. That was a good word, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You supplied them with what they needed. Yeah. Well, with James, how can we get in touch with you and find that brain glue so we can get on the right path here?
Well, it's in bookstores, but it's on Amazon. If you go to braingluebook.com, then it'll take you right to the Amazon page and you can look at it. And we have there's an audiobook too. And you're lucky. You don't get me talking. You get a really fantastic guy, Johnny Unitas, this guy talking, and he's hilarious. I don't think that's his real name, just by the way. Okay. Okay. But he's hilarious. And we actually have a sample on the Amazon page. Mm-hmm. So, but even if you don't get the audiobook, or even if you don't get the book, look at the free stuff inside, because Amazon lets you look at free stuff, and it'll give you some ideas that I think will really get your brain going. You're going, oh, this sounds like fun. Right. Because remember, and by the way, the book is filled with jokes too, okay? But I will start with this. I'm going to warn everybody, okay? On page 2, it says, it explains, my 4-year-old daughter didn't want to have sex with the boy next door. And people are like, what? Okay. When you read the punchline, it's not a bad thing at all. Okay. When you read the punchline, you start to realize, oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. But it's because I want to make the book fun. So it is fun, but it's really, I think it's going to, blow your mind, just blowing people's minds. I get people reading it. I was just talking to somebody and he said, no, I'm on my second time going through it with a highlighter now. I mean,
okay. Now he's reading with a purpose now. He's reading with a purpose.
Yeah, because you can apply it to stuff. You can apply it to your life. You can apply it to your husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, I have this guy, and I'm not going to tell you how he did it, but he said, I can pick up girls with this book. It's really great. Because I tell him stuff, but I said, ask questions. Don't talk, make and listen. I actually founded something called the Father-Daughter Project. And I learned that as a consultant, I've been a consultant for most of my life, and I don't listen enough to I can solve the problem. I can solve the problem. Yeah. And so my middle daughter, she grew up and I never got to really know her, because every time she'd say something, I would say, oh, I could solve that. And I didn't realize that as a dad, if you say that to your daughter over and over again, or a son, I guess, you're basically telling them you're stupid and daddy's smart. And I don't mean that at all. And my kids are real brilliant. They're smarter than me. But it's important for us to learn to, engage with people. And that's why I push, questions can be really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So braingluebook.com. At least you can look at some of the free stuff. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. And if we want to work with you, are you still consulting and coaching as well?
I don't do a lot, but I don't say no to people. So I'm talking to people all the time and just helping them with their stuff. So it's lots of fun. Right. You have to give back. One of my favorite movies was Pay It Forward. If you're successful and you've been, you've got to pay it forward. And that's how we make the world better.
Yep, absolutely. Braingluebook.com, everybody. So we're definitely going to get there. And please remember to follow James on all things social media for him. We'll have that in the show notes as well. Well, thanks a lot. I can't wait to get your book. I'm excited to move forward.
Oh, thank you, Audrey. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
The Tech Diva.
Yeah, I'm trying to, work my right brain I try to, cover it up a little bit with my little lefty, but sometimes there's conflict going on up here between the two sides.
Welcome to the club.
All right, PJ.
Thank you for listening to The Business Shop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guest and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businessshop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.